everything that I know says I gotta go, tired of going solo. But I'm never gonna go there again. This is what it is, this is who I am, this is where I finally take my stand. I didn't want to fall, but I don't have to go. I'm not the one with two star hands. Giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this man. I've been born again.
Yes, we're born again.
All right.
This is Eddie Huff and my partner here,
David Van, reporting
David
for
Van.
duty.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I checked myself. You probably caught that. I checked myself because I wanted to say Van Risingham.
Yes, you did.
I just there's something, it just rolls off the tongue. Van Risingham.
Too much time in Germany,
I
Eddie.
guess so. Yeah. My mother always, if you ever meet a real German person,
Yeah.
they understand the Van
Yeah.
means something.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about in Holland or Belgium or wherever, but I know in Germany, Van really means something. It means you're royalty. Basically, you're descendant of royalty.
Yeah.
Because you're Van, it's the town you're from, but only the royal blood had a Van and
the landowners.
Right. Yeah, the landowners. The slavers.
Yeah.
By another name, they call it it was a feudal system, so I guess they, I don't know. Anyway, hey, welcome everybody to this edition of Fresh Black Coffee. He's fresh, I'm black, and then the coffee hopefully is in what we
There we go.
like to present to you. Hey, Dave, we're going to start today with our usual Babylon
Yes.
B. All right, Babylon B.
Need my fix, my Saturday morning fix.
There you go.
Yeah.
Joe Biden has to be the most vapid president we've ever had.
Vapid, that's two cylinders. What is syllables? I mean, what does it mean?
Airheaded.
Oh, yes.
Empty
That would
suit.
be Joe.
Yeah, they're I mean, unbelievable this stuff. And I don't know who's writing his stuff. I'm starting to wonder if he's not being sabotaged by his own people.
Yeah.
So this week was Veterans Day, as you know.
Yeah.
And this out to all of you veterans. I have a son who's a veteran. Actually, he's still active duty, so he's not really a veteran. My dad was a veteran. And I apologize to all of you for Joe Biden's performance on Veterans Day. No,
You know.
we honor you, but I'm sorry. This guy's just not ready for prime time. So let me tell you. So what he did, he gets up and he talks. For some reason, he throws in a story about Satchel Paige.
Oh, yeah.
The famous black pitcher.
Yeah.
In the old Negro League that was years ago. But you had the Negro League years ago, but you don't, it's not politically correct to say Negro today anymore.
Yeah. And I don't know why.
Well,
It's the Spanish word for black.
Exactly. But it means more to somebody. I don't know. I'm not one of those people.
Somebody's offended out there.
Yeah. Like Booker T. Washington founded the National Negro Business League.
Yeah.
Where they've changed it to the National Black Business League. So I don't care. I mean, it's fine. I moved. I changed in 1969. I moved from being a Negro to being a black person.
Yeah. But they still have the United Negro College Fund.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right. They should have. It should, instead of the HBCU. Well, actually, but yeah, that's true. It is the historically black college. It's not the HNCU, the historically Negro colleges. So, yeah. Interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but that is true.
Yeah.
The National Negro College Fund. So, but anyway, people, for some reason, they have an issue with this, okay?
Yes.
The word Negro.
They just hate this Hispanics, you know. It's the black language. I mean, it's the Spanish language.
Let's start that race war. Let's start that race war. We'll do that. But so he got up and he started talking about Satchel Paige, the famous pitcher.
Yeah.
In the National Negro College. I mean, baseball league. Geez, see, I got me all confused now. But so now, of course, he not only talked about the Negro Baseball League, but he talked about Satchel Paige was a Negro who pitched in the Negro Baseball League.
Digging a hole, Joe.
So of course, the Babylon Bee couldn't let that go.
No.
The Babylon Bee had to do their comment. And so here in Washington, D.C., after stirring controversy by referring to legendary baseball player Satchel Paige as a Negro, Biden came forward today to apologize for his gaffe.
Oh, he did.
He says, "Oh man, I apologize for calling all the colored folks Negroes." He said to a stunned press, "I forgot all the coloreds don't want us to call them that anymore. Sorry, colored people." This is the best one yet. I'm gonna need a handkerchief to get through this one.
As my old church elder friend Louis Terrell used to say, that fellow wakes up in a different place every 5 minutes.
It seems like, doesn't it? This is absolutely the best one yet. The White House also apologized for the gaffe, reminding everyone that Negro was the preferred term when Biden began his career back over a half century ago. It's also important to remember that Biden has advanced dementia, said Press Secretary to the give old racist Joe a break.
Yeah. He ain't racist. He's got dementia.
With aides like that, who needs enemies, right? Biden's aides also confirmed he will be making amends to the black community by inviting Jesse Jackson to the White House to sniff his hair.
Oh, now Sharpton's jealous, right?
Biden maintains that allegations of racism directed at him are baseless. "I'm not a racist," Biden said, "and if you don't believe me, you ain't a Negro." Or a colored person.
Oh, Babylon B, classic.
That's the best. Yes. We'll have to save that one. We will have to save that one. You've got to send that one out to everybody.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. That's
great.
Great.
I'll throw the link up to that one on the website. Freshblack.coffee.
Now that he sold the Pfizer vaccine, here are 10 more upcoming product endorsements from Big Bird.
Ooh, Big Bird.
Big Bird. The beloved Sesame Street character Big Bird is finally doing what he was born to do: sell pharmaceutical products to small children. They're hitting it on all cylinders this week.
So,
after his resounding success in selling a Pfizer vaccine, here are 10 more exciting Big Bird product endorsements PBS is planning.
Yeah.
Number 1, the brand new cereal Pfizer-O's.
Oh, God.
Every bowl is the equivalent of one additional COVID booster.
Oh, God.
The FDA says it's a balanced part of your complete breakfast. Cool.
I was going to say, Joe Camel ought to be throwing a fit right now that he's not allowed to do any of these.
Number 2, Pfizer's watermelon-flavored puberty blocker chewables. Change your gender without sacrificing taste. You okay? You going to make it there? Babylon B got you choked up. Oh, my goodness. A lead finger paint set. This is a great way to boost your child's immunity to lead poisoning. Made in China. Oh, here we go. The Communist Manifesto, Illustrated Children's Edition. It's never too early to introduce your kids to the greatest political ideology on earth, a great alternative to the Tuttle Twin books.
Yeah, that's right.
Have you heard of the Tuttle Twins books?
No.
Yeah, they're a pretty popular thing. They're kind of like Rush Limbaugh's Rush Revere, that whole thing. But anyway, they're really good, and it teaches the kids about our government and history through these twins, the Tuttle Twins.
Nice.
Number 5, Fisher-Price's My First Pregnancy Test. They can even come in pink and blue depending on whether your pregnant child is a man or a woman. A waterboarding kit. Great way for kids to learn how to treat enemies of the state. COVID Heroes trading cards. You can get Fauci, Whitmer, Newsom. Collect them all. Fauci, Whitmer. They picked the right people, too, for these.
Oh, gosh.
An Afghanistan withdrawal Lego set. Reenact Biden's heroic withdrawal from Afghanistan and decide who gets left behind. Finally, a government-issued satellite phone for reporting your parents to the state. Don't let them get away with mask violations on your watch. Oh, man, these guys, it's something. You know, it is amazing. I do have to say that this truly does speak to freedom of speech, that our country is that the Babylon Bee still has the freedom to be able to do what they do.
Thank God.
Yeah. I'm waiting. We will know that the tide has turned.
Yes.
If and when Babylon B gets shut down.
No kidding.
So we got to watch that stuff. So anyway, so that's a nice warm up. What else happened this week, Dave?
Oh, man. Kyle Rittenhouse is going through a kangaroo court trial, and we'll be seeing what happens there.
We'll see if the jury are kangaroos or not.
Yeah. The interesting thing is I've never seen a judge get that animated screaming at the prosecutor. It's usually the defense attorneys that pull this kind of stunts, but elected official, district attorney. Well, actually, one of his prosecutors, yeah.
Yeah. We see the same thing in St. Louis, remember, with the prosecutor there, the DA in St. Louis going after that couple that was defending the property.
Yep.
It's interesting that they think they feel so emboldened that they actually believe they can get away with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's something we have to really keep an eye on, because these, as you know, George Soros has been pumping a lot of these prosecutors.
I agree.
He's supporting them, throwing his support their way. So we have to find great people and support them. And this brings me to a good point here, and we'll get back to Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't know if we've discussed this before, but the difference in the way Democrats do things and the way Republicans do things. Republicans, and probably because it worked in the past, but what the Republicans like to do, they like to, how do I want to put this in a positive? There's no way to positively to say this in a positive way. They like to throw their clout around. Okay. So you get a rich Republican, and he wants to give to somebody, and he wants to let everybody know that he's giving to somebody. And then, of course, he wants that person in particular to know and that they owe him or her. Okay. I'm doing this for you. Pat myself on the back. Now, here's what I want you to do. Democrats don't do it. Don't work that way.
How do they do it?
Okay. The way, let's take George Soros.
Yeah.
George Kaiser. Locally, to speak of local personality.
We're talking about you, George.
Yes.
And you, George.
Yes. George and George, the Georges.
Yeah.
So the way the Democrats do it, they will find organizations out there that they can support that then will do their bidding for them.
Yeah.
So take the NAACP, Planned Parenthood, you name them, Media Matters.
Yeah.
Some of these people. So what they do, they say, okay, here's $10 million for the next 5 years. Do what you do. And after 5 years, we will evaluate if it's working or not. If it's not working, you don't get any more money. If it's working, we'll give you, there's more where that came from. So what they're doing, they're working more at the grassroots. And so these organizations, they used to be called pressure groups. Remember, they used to call these pressure groups, lobbyists and pressure groups and all these. So they will pay Black Lives Matter, go start a riot here, start a disturbance here, or do this this here. And then we will figure out, between our media friends and everyone, we'll figure out how to use it. Everybody's doing their job. They're all getting paid, and they're all, that's how they operate.
Yeah.
A Republican wants to give, say, $10 million to a candidate. They want to give it directly to the candidate. Then they want the candidate to do their bidding.
Yeah.
Whereas these other people don't care about the candidate. They care about the bigger picture, what we're trying to do in America.
Yeah.
And so these are the groups, left-leaning groups, that also want that. And so those groups then push for their agenda.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. And until we wake up to that fact, we're going to have some issues. We're going to have some issues. And it's going to get harder and harder to win. I'm not saying, now, grassroots people, you, me, people out there in America, in the hinterland, as they call it, they need to continue giving their $10, $20, $50, $100 gifts to support the actual candidate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The numbers. But the rich guys, what they need to do is to work behind it. For example, I've had this great idea. Okay. I'd like to get, say, $100,000 and then go to Black Radio and say, okay, I've got this money. I want to buy X amount of ads for my conservative cause, my conservative candidate. Mm-hmm. And then I believe they will do it.
Yeah.
So I can put whatever commercials I want.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to outbuy these black radio stations, which are continually totally Democrat, and just come up with a simple message. I don't even think I want to go after or boost a candidate. Mm-hmm. I'd rather go after candidates.
Yeah.
To say, do you remember when Joe Biden said this, that if you don't vote for me, you ain't black?
Yeah.
Do you remember when Kamala Harris said this? Do you remember when so-and-so said this? Do you remember when so-and-so did? Do you remember when he did this? Is there more money in your pocket today than it was under Donald Trump? That's why I said George Washington. Donald Trump. So this is how you operate. And we've got to get smarter. We've got to work harder, especially with minority communities. See, for example, conservatives will go and they'll have ads on Fox TV, right? They'll go on Newsmax. They'll go on what's the other one? One America. One America.
Yeah, One America.
They'll go all of these. OAN, yeah. They'll go on all of these networks. They'll dump all this money there. They're going to conservative periodicals. What we've got to start doing is go where the common person is watching and listening.
Yeah.
Wheel of Fortune is gold. You've got to, if you want to be elected in Oklahoma, Texas, and you've got to go on Wheel of Fortune because that's where mom and pop watch every night.
Yeah.
My mother, my wife, it's their religion. They sit there and watch. They watch Wheel of Fortune every single. They'll start with Jeopardy, then they go, and all of a sudden, and if you notice, on election season, all these local campaigns will be on Wheel of Fortune. But there are many like Price is Right. You got to go on all these. Don't.
That's true because politics is downstream from culture,
Right.
And you got to find out the culture and how to reach the people. What I also want to say is the Democrats do better about building foundations, right. And rather than, and then those foundations will many times apply for government grants, right. To the point where our tax dollar is paying for their rent on the building. So all their overhead is covered. So even the part that isn't towards the legitimate government grant purpose, well, they've already got their structure in place, so they can walk in with a parallel organization that's clearly political.
Right.
And that's where we're being run in circles around us.
Oh yeah. And the other thing, I've got all kinds of things like that. But so for example, a Christian young man, you get a gifted Christian person, right? Mm-hmm. And what do we want? Let's say they're in high school, they're in college. What's the great aspiration for your Christian kid that, maybe you see them active in their church and so forth. So what is the great aspiration among Christians?
Well, you tell me. I can think of a few.
To be a youth leader, worship leader, an associate pastor, you're going to seminary, okay?
Yeah.
That they're always trying to get the brightest and best to become pastors or something.
Sure.
Republicans, conservatives, more secularized ones, the next goal is to become a successful businessman.
Yes.
Or businesswoman, business person, okay? So I don't want to offend anybody, but whatever you are, we want you in business. But so they're just out there eager to build their business, their families, et cetera, which is important, okay? I mean, don't get me wrong. But Democrats, what they are about is creating bureaucrats that move up the ladder.
And educators.
Civil servants, right? Civil servants, educators, media.
Yeah.
So what they will do, the gay lobby, for example, gays have been really strategic in placing people in these areas.
And the arts.
HR. Okay.
Yes.
The human resource department of these different, in the Defense Department, not necessarily in the Pentagon. Okay? Yeah. Who makes the decisions, makes the rules.
Yeah. Civilian
employees. The Pentagon is rife with gays and lesbians. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's almost today. And it used to be what a homosexual is a general. Is it now? It's almost a general is not a homosexual.
Yeah.
Or a lesbian.
Yep.
In the Pentagon.
Sure.
I mean, it's almost that's where FBI. Here's the other military intelligence. Military intelligence is full of the gays. Okay, and now I actually, believe it or not, I actually have to commend them for that. In other words, that they're smart enough to know where to place their people. Okay, and they're very, very loyal to their cause. It's almost like they go to school. I mean, maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe there's a school to go to. How can we undermine the government of the United States of America? The fiber. Now, Lauren Cunningham and Bill Bright. You remember Bill Bright was the founder of Campus Crusade for Christ.
From Coweta, Oklahoma.
Really? He's from Coweta?
Yeah. Yeah. If you go
Not Coweta?
Yeah.
He's from Coweta?
Both he and his wife, believe it or not, they met hundreds of miles from here, but they're both from Coweta.
Wow.
And if you're driving out to Coweta, not on the turnpike on the free road, it says Bill Bright Memorial Highway.
Well,
how long have you been here, Eddie?
Not long enough, apparently.
Yeah.
There's news for you people. Bill Bright is from Coweta, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Well, Bill Bright, founder of Campus Crusade for Christ.
Yep.
Lauren Cunningham, founder of Youth with a Mission.
Yeah.
And these guys got together and wrote a book back in the 80s called The 7 Mind Molders. Now, someone has come along and rewritten the same books and put another title on them and taken credit for it, which I have no respect for that. But that's another story. And you may have heard them, the 7 Mountains.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
Well, I've heard the 7 Mountains of Babylon in Revelation. That's another book.
Take that, you people that stole the idea. Anyway, basically the 7 Mind Molders, which is a lot of people know them as the 7 Mountains.
7 Habits of Successful People, or 7.
It's always 7 in it.
If it's Christian, it's got to have 7 in the title.
What about 6? Whatever happened? Why did they skip that? I know. Never mind. Anyway, the 7 Mind Molders, the whole book dealt with influencing society. It dealt with law, the arts, the media, education, politics, and church. And there's one other one I can't think of. But if you look at those, you see that the secular world has co-opted. They've taken over that whole area. Media, law.
Yep.
I mean, praise God that somehow we got conservative judges in there, right?
Yeah, for a while. We'll see.
Well, yeah, and kind of like a bulwark to stop the onslaught of the left. But we have got to start playing smart. I always use the scripture where Jesus said we must be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. But unfortunately, conservatives and Christians tend to be wise as doves and harmless as serpents. And because it's almost the opposite. You know, there's just sometimes you're dumb as rocks. You know, I mean, some of the things they do, some of the things that the conservatives, and what's even worse is the people out there. Of course, not our audience, not you.
No, of course not. We're informed, right?
Yeah, exactly. We have smart people. But anyway, that actually listen to some of this stuff. I remember years ago when someone was running for insurance commissioner in the state of Oklahoma. And I was telling, and the big campaign was that he was going to stop Obamacare. Well, I knew as an insurance agent and somebody who actually follows this stuff that the insurance commissioner has nothing to do with Obamacare. In fact, there's no way they can stop it. Right? It had nothing to do. But he's going to stop Obamacare. Yeah. I said, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
What's wrong? Why are you buying this? This person has nothing to do. It's just it sounds good. It's used to dupe you. And now, to be fair, the left, what is it? What's their favorite thing? He's a white supremacist.
Yeah.
He's a racist.
Yeah. Somewhere
in his family tree, they lynched the nigger. Yeah. You know, stuff like that. I mean, it's
there you go with your black privilege. Now you get to use that word.
I do. Well, yeah. I have to be careful though. I need to say it with an A, nigga. Not. I got to take that hard R off. You know, once you drop that hard R, man, one thing's leading to another. Let me just drop
add
this.
A DY. Because then it's niggardly, which means stingy.
Stingy, right?
Yes.
Well, you remember that?
What Rush Limbaugh said.
Well, no. There was actually, I can't remember. He was, I think it was chief of the staff for the governor of Maryland.
Yeah.
Or it was somebody in D.C. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And gave a speech, and he said something was being niggardly.
Yeah.
And he got fired.
Yeah.
Because the ignorant other ones thought that he was talking about them.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
you're just
I'm
showing your
stupidity.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's just funny. Yeah. You know, they thought they were talking about them, and it has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you, okay?
We're on a rabbit trail off of a rabbit trail.
But yeah. And this is good stuff, though.
Yeah,
when I first started at KFAQ, I used to have a guy call up, and he said he was a professor at TU. And he sounded great, sounded scholarly. And I don't know who he was, but he, the funniest, one day he was wanting to explain to me where the N-word comes from. I said, well, I don't know. He said, well, it comes from the word chigro. Like chiggers were originally called, yeah, and I'm listening to it. They were called chigros. You know, chiggers, the things that get under your skin and itch and everything. So they were originally called chigros, and they became chiggers. And you know where I'm headed with this. So originally Negro turned into.
Jeez.
And I was actually, for a second, think, wow, yeah, that sounds like it makes sense. And oh my goodness, I could tell you some stories. By the way, today's the memorial for Pat Campbell, so this is a perfect time to talk about this. There were some great memories and things that happened on that show. It was pretty funny. Really? But this guy trying to convince me that the word Negro comes from chigro, the animal, you know. So, but anyway, I digress. Getting back to the mind molders, we have really missed it. My dad, I'll just use my dad as an example. My dad worked for the VA, and he was the claims processor. So a veteran comes in, and he's trying to get VA benefits. Yeah. So he had to.
Can I just say, now your dad started out as an enlisted man over in Germany, right?
Right. And he ended up as an enlisted man in America. So U.S. Army. Right. And then he went to work for the VA, what? Right, after 26 years. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He retired. Yeah, he was retired Army. Okay. Right. But anyway, he went to work for the VA. So he knew his stuff. He had been to Vietnam, and he'd seen the actual things. And he's the one that told me. That's why I think BS. PTSD is BS. And that's why I sometimes give you a hard time about PTSD and marijuana. It's another story. So, but he worked in claims, and he would tell me these stories about people. Back then, it wasn't called PTSD. It was paranoid schizophrenia that everybody had after Vietnam. They were all paranoid schizophrenics. And he would just tell me these stories, and he would just shake his head. But anyway, so in came a woman. It was my dad, and he hired a young Mexican kid. And when I met him, he was this long-haired, looked like a Mexican hippie kid, and very, very Mexican. Hey, man, how's it going? You know, that like Cheech and Chong, you would think. That's how he spoke, like that. But great guy. I mean, he's a wonderful guy. And so my dad took him and basically trained him and brought him up. In fact, I saw him at my dad's funeral. And it was so weird to seeing this kid. He was now in his 40s, short hair, clean, you know, Mr. Everything. And he was just in tears how he thanked me and how much my dad meant to him for his whole career. He ended up doing a whole career with the VA as well, this Mexican kid. But so what happened, they brought in a new lady as the head of their division. And then she hired somebody else, another woman, under her.
Yep.
And these ladies conspired to get rid of my dad and this young Mexican guy.
Yep.
Because they wanted to replace them.
Yep.
With another friend of theirs. Well, they didn't realize they were messing with Larry Huff.
Okay.
So Larry records everything, and he kept everything. And so when they got to a certain point, they were bringing up some fake, accusations and everything about this and blaming this. And so my dad goes right to the regional director and says, here's what's going on. Here's this. Next thing you know, fortunately, this was in the 70s still. I'm sorry, this was in the 90s. Fortunately, because of that, those ladies both got fired.
Thank you.
Because they got busted.
Yeah, good.
But this has been going on a long time.
Oh, yeah.
This is how you have these departments of our U.S. government that are run by people that you wonder, how did they get there? That's how they got there.
Yep.
It's because in the Army, it's called personnel. Okay, the personnel division. And the personnel people, when they get the right people in, they decide who gets promoted, who gets transferred where, all of these type of things, okay? A lot of power.
Yeah.
A lot of power. My dad, in fact, got to go back to Germany because he had left us behind when he got transferred when I was 8 months old. He was gone 2.5 years, and one day he shows up. But it's not because he didn't want to be there or didn't want to come back. It was just the way it was, and he had a friend that was in personnel that actually worked it to get him transferred over there. He told him ahead of time. My dad, at his funeral, two men came to me and told me that they became officers because of my dad. Nice. That there were slots available in OTS, and one became a warrant officer. And my dad went, instead of trying to do it himself, he went to these guys who were just enlisted men like him. In fact, below him. Yeah. And he said, hey, I've got 2 slots here, or this slot. Yep. Here's what you need to do. They did it, and they both ended up, one retired as a sergeant major, one warrant officer. Actually, there were 3, and then one ended up retiring as a colonel. Yeah. Nice. Wow. Officers. Yeah. Which they all started out as privates. Wow. But that's how powerful, what I'm getting at, to get back to the story, what I'm getting at, human resources, which is what personnel is basically, used to be. Human resources is one of the most powerful and important positions at any company. Yep. Whether it's governmental or civilian. Yep. Okay. And it's been infiltrated by people, leftists for one thing, and gays. Yeah. I mean, I'm just telling you the facts. Yeah. And whereas conservatives and Christians feel that's beneath them, or why am I wasting my time here? We want to go for the top. The problem is, to get to the top, you often need the people in these positions that are willing to do the work.
I do want to say, if you think electing some moderate Democrat is maybe harmless, maybe they agree with you on your few top pet issues. The problem is, for every one of those offices, the staff underneath them, it's a farm club for developing the next leaders, the next generation. One of my good friends, Joe Newhouse, state senator, started out as an aide to Congressman Jim Bridenstine, fellow military guy, right? This happens, and it develops a resume that's used by a very dangerous radical leftist to run to replace that person. And that happens over and over again.
Exactly. Exactly.
Another point on your vote for me, I'll end Obamacare thing. It's called Vote for Pedro. All your dreams will come true. You know, I'm sorry, that's not a good Hispanic act. Remember?
No.
Napoleon Dynamite?
You're talking about Fitzgerald?
Napoleon Dynamite. Where's your culture, Eddie? Remember the Hispanic guy who runs for student council president?
I missed Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, his famous campaign line.
They lost me at the previews.
He says, vote for Pedro. All your dreams will come true. How's that for campaign
I do remember seeing that ad, but that has to be the most worthless movie ever made.
Yeah. It was a
You liked it, didn't you? You liked it.
It was a
didn't you?
cult favorite. Kids loved it. All my kids were just nuts about
And now we know why they're all screwed up.
All
I'm not
my-
speaking of your kids. I'm talking about kids in general. That generation, let's just write them off. Would that be the
No,
X?
because
would that be the
Napoleon
X
was the
generation?
nerd who actually made good. And every kid relates with that. I'm awkward. I'm a geek. I'm goon.
How Napoleon Dynamite made good?
Yeah.
It was Napoleon Dynamite. Is that who we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He made good.
Yeah.
How did he make good?
Oh, student talent show, man. He had skills, right? Dude, you got skills.
He went really
He
far.
ends up being the best dancer in the high school. Who
Oh,
would've
I'm
thought?
sure that he went far in life with that.
Yeah.
Yes. What happened? I want to see a sequel.
Okay, there you go.
The dynamite probably means that as soon as you got to high school, everything blew up,
But for the kids of today, they live for today, right?
which is a sad.
They don't
sad
realize that being homecoming queen doesn't mean squat when you're trying to fight for a parking spot at the campus parking lot at college. They don't care that you were homecoming queen in high school.
No, nor does your boss care when they're trying to hire somebody.
Exactly.
At least if they're hiring somebody that has talent.
But when you're 17 and a senior in high school, it's everything. It's your
Oh no, and I do get that. I get that. The fact, for example, to me, my junior year of high school, getting a letter in soccer was my life.
Yeah.
I devoted my life, literally devoted my life to it.
Yeah.
And I worked so hard that I made it happen. I mean, it's the weirdest thing. I wasn't the most talented. I didn't even qualify. Did we tell a story about how you have to play so many halves and to letter?
Yeah.
I think we talked about that.
I don't think we talked about, but I'm familiar with that.
You're supposed to pay one half over the halves or one quarter over the number of quarters. And I was actually one under half. And there were people above me, but I lettered. And I'm convinced it's prayer. I mean, seriously, I prayed, and I worked hard. But I ended up getting that letter, and it meant so much. And I got that Letterman jacket. Yeah. Bought a class ring. And then as soon as I graduated, the ring came off the jacket. Yeah. Still hangs in my closet. Now, I mean, if you showed up on college campus in a high school Letterman jacket, you're laughed off campus, right? Yeah. So it's amazing how those things are temporal. Yeah. Hey, listen, Dave, we better take a break, haven't we? Should. I think we better take a break. Right. Okay, everybody, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this, okay?
All right.
I'm Jeff Davis with Just a Thought. From the world hindquarters of dubious information, it's Fake News Friday. There is a false claim that the trapdoor spider is poisonous and could kill a person within 5 minutes. That fake news lasted about 5 minutes. Experts did not say black licorice kills elderly people, but if you eat a lot of it, it can cause health problems, they say. Dr. Anthony Fauci's documentary on Disney Plus got high marks, but it said that those high marks are indeed fake. Besides, his arguments with Rand Paul are free and highly entertaining. Tiffany Dover, the nurse who fainted on live TV after getting the jab, is not dead despite claims otherwise. So says the hospital where she works. China did target practice on a fake U.S. aircraft carrier in a Chinese desert. Rumor has it 20 minutes later they wanted to do it again. Australians are getting around the rules with a fake vaccine passport on their phones. Had to happen. Comedian Russell Brand says that Hillary's Trump-Russia story was the biggest political hoax of our lifetime. Thanks, Captain Obvious. Just a thought. I'm Jeff Davis.
Yes, we are back. Hey, so now, Dave, after I've gotten all that off my chest for the day, gotten all of that dealt with, hopefully it was news you can use or info you can use at least, maybe some life lessons. But let's get back to Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think you and I, like so many others, knew from the beginning that the trial was a sham.
Yeah.
That Kyle actually was defending himself.
Yeah.
He was being attacked. Because we saw the videos, right?
Right.
The videos that most parents, most fans or spectators, people that watch CNN, MSNBC, they didn't get to see those videos, obviously, because that would undermine their credibility immediately,
Can't
right?
show that, yeah.
So all they did was paint him as this white supremacist kid, racist, et cetera, though they don't even know him. I mean, it's amazing how they can sit there and try to just totally destroy a person's life that they don't know. And as soon as you say one little thing towards them, they said something bad about me. You know, I'm saying, are you serious? I just want to reach through the thing and smack them.
Yeah. Now, these are things that came out in the trial. So you mentioned he defended himself. Let's go further back than that. The police were under a lot of heat because of trying to get a man into custody who's wielding a knife, right? And he ended up dead. All right. So now everybody's after the police. He has... Wait.
So the police were after this guy for wielding a knife before the encounter with Kyle?
Yeah, and trying to abduct children. Okay.
Well, that's where I want to go. Tell us the whole story about it.
Well, and we did see some video of it. They're trying to stop him. He seems to be totally off in his own world, and they're trying to, and he's getting in the car and he's reaching for a knife, and finally an officer sees him with that knife and with kids in the car, and he's trying to abduct these kids and go, and they ended up shooting him. He's dead, right? And so now all of a sudden the police are under all kinds of heat. Kyle comes in, local car dealerships asking for help, just like all merchants are when you got civil unrest, because the looting's going to happen, the vandalism, the burning, everything. And, you know, car dealership, you're talking, 6-7 figure inventory sitting out there. So he's with permission, with agreement for this car dealership. And it came out in testimony, at least twice the cops came by to say hi to him and thank him for helping, right? So, and
he wasn't by himself. There was a number of people that volunteered to come and protect.
Yeah, he's not the only one who came.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Right.
Yeah. So then later he gets signaled. The mob is chasing him down. He's by himself. I mean, he gets knocked down. Right. They're trying to stomp his head. And he ends up shooting 3, 2 of whom died. Right.
And one had a gun that was pointed at him. In fact, in the video, the gun is clearly pointed at him when he shoots it.
Yes. Yeah. And you got all of this video. And in fact, Real America's Voice had a cameraman there who captured much of it. And he was on the stand, I think it was Thursday.
Right. Hispanic guy.
Yes. Right. And they're trying to make him off to be a racist.
Yeah.
Because obviously you work for a right-wing, deal. Yeah. So anyway, so all these things are happening. And, the whole case fell apart when the prosecution, which the way, courtroom litigation works, everybody gets their opening statements, then the prosecution makes their case. Once they rest, the defense gets to make their case, rebuttal. But meanwhile, for every witness the prosecution puts up, immediately you get cross-examination. And in that cross-examination alone ends up every witness became effectively a witness for the defense.
Now that's what was weird.
Yes.
Yeah, the prosecutor's witnesses that essentially corroborated everything that Kyle Rittenhouse was saying and ended up becoming defense witnesses.
Yeah.
That is just bizarre. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
What troubles me, though, is that now the prosecutor's new tact has been to try to, because they know they can't get him for first-degree murder.
Right.
Okay. So now they're trying to lessen the charges.
Yeah.
And what I'm afraid of is we know that there's been threats against the jury. Mm-hmm. The jury's been threatened, okay? Mm-hmm. And you've got George Floyd's brother or somebody related to him out there making videos about they're going there. They're going to the house of the judge's house, and they have a list of the jurors' names and addresses and all. Totally. I mean, he should be in jail. I don't know. I mean, he should be in jail for doing that.
Right.
Witness tampering, threats, so forth. I mean, there's no reason that any sound law enforcement agency, FBI should be at his house right now.
Right.
He feels he's above the law, okay, which he probably is, which is sad. But so now they're trying to lessen the charges so that to let them off the hook and to give them a win. And with a jury that's already under threat, the jury might think, well, you know, if we go with these lesser charges, then we're off the hook. So let him do a little time in jail. Let him do without thinking that no, come after me if you must. And I would say at your own risk.
Yeah.
You come after me, you better be ready when you come after me. And it may be another self-defense case, right?
You're right.
I mean, that's the message that should be sent out. That you cannot come after innocent people for doing their job.
Right. And now that the prosecutor realizes that they failed on going for a legitimate conviction, now they're trying to demonize the very court procedure itself, including the judge. And somehow he's a racist, or he's a bigot, or he's biased in some way. And so this isn't going to be over anytime soon.
Well, good.
Yeah.
And I hope it goes all the way to Supreme Court, who tends to be right now rational and especially, you know, with Clarence Thomas and Alito and some of these people on there. Some of them have been a disappointment, particularly Roberts. But there's enough on there that have enough sense to realize that this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I just ask everybody to pray for Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
And to just, whatever you can do, just pass that video on, the video that corroborates the fact that he was defending himself. He was knocked down. They were coming after him with a gun. One guy had a knife, I believe. I mean, he was about to get either beaten, stomped, or shot. You know, one guy, like I said, had a gun pointing at him. He just pulled the trigger first. Yeah.
Now, something that really surprised me was when the defense decided to put the defendant himself at the witness stand.
Right.
Now, the problem with that is that the prosecutor then gets to cross-examine. Okay? So then you cannot claim your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent anymore. You've given that up. So a legal team will only do that when they are extremely confident they can knock this out of the park. And that's what happened. What I think nobody was surprised was somehow in the testimony, it triggered an emotional meltdown. That, don't you know, if you're white and a teenager and have a meltdown, that's white privilege. I know because MSNBC said so.
Yeah, that's what's funny. So Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old high school kid, basically, who's on trial for murdering someone where he would spend the rest of his life in prison and probably would be killed by, you know, people in prison. He breaks down and starts crying. That's seen as, oh, he's an actor. He's putting on it. Yet, Jussie Smollett, that famous French actor who got attacked by Trump supporters in Chicago, he can go on to CNN at night and cry, and everybody says, oh, poor Jussie. And I am actually referring to Jussie Smollett. There's a
Doesn't he have a sweet gig with State Farm? Who is that? There's a black guy. I thought it was.
That's not Jussie Smollett.
Oh boy, he kind of reminds me.
Jussie Smollett right now is basically persona non grata. Nobody wants to touch that guy.
I would hope
everybody. So there, if you get a chance, go on YouTube, and there's a great video that Dave Chappelle does talking about that famous French actor Jussie Smollett, and the audience really gets it. And they just start cracking. And you can tell there's people that don't. Who's he talking about? What's he talking about? And he said he's that famous French actor that's on this TV show, and it's so well done, and it makes so much sense. And way he's bringing it out is because all these people came out, particularly the gay community, saying, why are black people not defending Jussie Smollett? Why are they not defending him?
Yeah.
And it's because he and then Dave Chappelle, he says, because we knew he was lying his bleep off from the beginning. He said, we actually helped him. We actually helped him by remaining silent, by not saying he was lying his bleep off.
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny.
Yeah. So anyway, the way we stand right now as of this weekend is the judge he was reserving his right to rule on some motions, including a mistrial with prejudice, which basically means dropping the charges. Right. Because a judge, even when prosecution makes their case, if he doesn't feel it even rises to the point of being legitimately, looked at by jury, he can just drop it right there before the defense even has to make their response. So the judge hasn't done this, but what you just said here about the doxing of the jury, that might be enough to push this judge over to say, no, I'm not putting this on the jury.
Well, and
this is on me.
Should be enough to cause any higher court to say, no, we're taking it out of your hands. Mm-hmm. That this verdict was actually not legit.
Yeah.
Based upon what has happened in the lower court.
Here's another very serious problem, and not many people have talked about it. Supreme Court has ruled in the last couple of years in ways that undermine our protection against double jeopardy. They are saying, and you remember the Rodney King beating, remember? That was because two cops were found innocent or not guilty, and it was largely because California law didn't know how to actually deal with this scenario, and they basically had to charge them with premeditated murder. And the jury said, no, this is not premeditated murder. Right. So get off. So Bush 41, in his pandering to culture says, why, we're going to go after them with federal violations of civil rights. And so they were prosecuted essentially for the same thing in federal courts. This is what I'm concerned with Joe Biden, with Merrick Garland. I think it's very likely that Kyle Rittenhouse is going to face federal charges.
Based on what?
Based on they want a do-over.
No, I understand, but what would they charge him with?
They're going to find a federal crime that he committed.
Which one? They can't use civil rights because it was white people attacking him.
Well, you just...
Yeah, see? Yeah.
I know.
No, if it had been a black
they're
person...
They're going to try really hard here.
Right.
I'm telling you...
But I'm just being the prosecutor of the prosecutors.
Okay.
That, please try that one.
They're going to call him a gun runner.
A gun runner?
Because he crossed state lines with the firearms.
Right. Well, if that's true and if that's a crime, then yeah, whatever but I guarantee you, crossing state lines with a weapon does not land you in jail for life or 10 years or whatever. Again,
they're not trying. Their number one concern isn't that he go in prison. It's that the narrative get advanced politically.
Yeah, but even that, good luck with that, because once the rest of the case falls apart, then it's up to us and everyone to say that the whole thing's a sham and he's only being convicted of this because of that.
Right.
If it was a black person, look at the guy who shot, the black officer, Capitol police officer that shot, what's her name, the lady that got shot?
Ashley Babbitt.
Ashley Babbitt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, but everybody's, what's with this? And I knew right away. I said, he's black. I knew it. Mm-hmm. I knew it right away. He's a black officer, and that's why they were shielding him until he decided to come out. The gall of this guy to come out and actually be on national TV and take some credit and some glory for shooting an unarmed woman. Mm-hmm. I mean, are you kidding me? Joe Mixon punches a girl, and they want to hang him, and yet this guy murders a woman.
Right.
And it's like I'm saying, what is wrong with you people today?
Yeah, but keep in mind, the Democrats are not about women's rights anymore. They've thrown women under the bus.
Well, yeah, until they need them.
Yeah, I'm just saying, there's a difference, something that's happened in the last 4 years. And it happened in the last year of Obama's administration when they did the transgender thing, because that was throwing women's protection under the bus.
But again, it doesn't mean anything because they're Democrats. The rules don't apply to them. They can make them as they go. Just like Joe Biden saying that if a person doesn't vote for him, he's not black.
Yeah, I'm just speaking of the fallout to us as Americans. Women, you are not being protected by this bunch because they'd rather let anybody in that women's bathroom just on their word of honor that they're transgender.
Again, until they need to reverse it, then it'll be a crime.
Yeah, it's all politics.
Right. And so, the ignorant masses fall for it. And until we educate the ignorant masses and convince them that this has got to stop. And where does that start? Again, it starts at the bottom. Not at the top.
But I got to say, this is a perfect example of another thing that's happening. Joe Biden has lost every court case, every ruling about his forced vaccinations. And by the time it gets to the Supreme Court for a final ruling, a final adjudication, he will have gotten every major employer in the nation to knuckle under because they're all cowards. And he doesn't care that he's violating the Constitution.
No.
He's buying time.
He doesn't even know what's going on. I mean, that to be honest, he doesn't. What does he usually say? Hey, I better get out of here. They're going to get me if I don't stop. If I don't quit answering questions. He is not his own person. He basically is a puppet out there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just like law enforcement can, for whatever cause, can detain you up to 48 hours. And you may say it's unconstitutional. You may say they have no case. And you might be right. But they don't care if they just want you off the street 48 hours.
Look at the Capitol Hill protesters that have been in prison. Nobody allowed to see them. Nobody allowed to visit them. No lawyers, no nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's like a gulag. Do you remember the Beatles song, Back in the USSR? Yeah, it's like back in the USSA right now, United Soviet Socialist.
So Republic you've got wholesale abuse of civil rights going on by the Democrat powerhouse, and it's happening with Rittenhouse. It's happening on the vaccine issue. It's happening with those being held for the January 6th.
Yeah, it's got to stop.
Misdemeanors.
It's got to stop.
Yeah.
It's got to stop. We must stop this. And and prayer. First thing, prayer.
Yeah. And
then communicate find those like-minded, and we've got to start a grassroots movement and read this stuff. Read the liberal stuff to find out what their arguments are, and then go find the real answers. That's where I always start. I don't start with the conservative news. What they're saying about something. I go, so what are the liberals saying about it? Then I work my way back and I look everywhere to find all the facts. Because if I start with the conservative and I just stop, too many times some liberal person I'm dealing with will end up having another response that I can't respond because I haven't really seen the other side.
Absolutely.
So we've got to always start with the enemy's tactics. Know your enemy, right? Know your enemy.
Yeah.
And then deal with it from that end.
I want to say I was at the Capitol last spring and I ran into the former head of the ACLU in Oklahoma, liberal Democrat. But, he's actually, we get along really pretty good. He's honorable. And I said, what happened to the ACLU? They actually used to be the American Civil Liberties Union. They're not about civil liberties anymore. They're about minority rights. And they've actually come right out and said that now. So if you're saying, hey, whatever, ACLU will get on it. No, they won't.
There's no money in that. That's the problem. Black people have been used as a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
And I wrote about this 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that the black community are a Trojan horse for every other social change that wants to be made in America.
Yeah.
And they've been a willing Trojan horse. So everything ends up being a civil rights. The 14th Amendment dealing with immigration, 14th Amendment was written for slaves in America, freed slaves. That's all it was written for. Yet now it's about abortion. It's about immigration.
Yeah.
It's about you name it. Okay. And gays are using it, women are using it, minorities are using it. Everyone is using it to continue to expand. Anytime something doesn't go their way, they bring, it's the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
Well, where's that come under the Constitution? It's in the 14th Amendment. Where? Well, it's in there. It's implied. It's implied.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So,
yeah.
Hey, Dave, we're going to have to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
But let me say this one last thing. Excuse me. Henry Primo.
Yeah.
Yeah, our dear friend Henry. He was supposed to be with us actually last week, but we had John Cox instead, which was very important. Now, if you hadn't had a chance to listen to that interview, please do. It's a great interview.
Yeah.
John Cox really, he handled himself well. He answered just honestly and from the heart, I believe. And I think you'll appreciate it. But so we were supposed to have Henry. Well, it turns out Henry is having some medical issues.
Yeah.
It's his heart, and then he's got some kidney issues as well. So I ask all of you out there that know Henry, and those of you that don't know Henry Primo, I'd say a celebrity here in town.
Yeah.
He's a businessman, a very well-known, great guy, good friend. I mean, good friend.
Great humanitarian.
Great human, just a wonderful person. Yeah. But he's going through some issues. It's interesting. I spoke with him on the phone day before yesterday, and the guy is, as much as he's now being attacked by these physical infirmities and so forth, you can't meet a more positive guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. You talk to him, and he's, his energy level is down. You know how he's usually robust and energetic, but at the same time, it's the same spirit. And God bless him. I mean, and so I ask you to pray for Henry Primo.
Henry Primo, I want to add to that. I reached out to his wife after you called and told me about that, and Jane just said, it really makes it bad that I'm still recovering from back surgery I had 3 weeks ago. And she says, we're just totally dependent on family even to get us food. Yeah. It's really tough. I just said, well, I'm out in your neighborhood plenty. I said, it's time for me to step up with corporal acts of mercy, which kind of Catholic lingo, because I would always ask Henry and Jane, my mom's devout traditional Catholic, Jane, all right, where's a good mass for my mom on Sunday? Because Henry and Jane are from that French Catholic Louisiana tradition, and they take their faith very seriously.
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah. So you volunteered to become their personal DoorDash.
Well, I just whenever I just don't hesitate. Call. I'm actually heading over to their house sometime here in the next week or two.
So
I always put up their Christmas lights.
So we can W Primo Eats.
Yeah,
Uber Eats, Primo Eats, or
there's so many things. I remember a fella got elected county chairman. I said, call Henry, because I talked to Henry and I said, when you go over, don't ask him for a donation for the Republican Party. Just sit and listen to what this man has done to make inroads for black businessmen with the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce. Henry lives his Christianity.
Yeah. He's a servant. And that's why he's blessed. I mean, he's blessed. I had him on my show back on KFAQ way years ago, and it was wonderful. It was a Christmas show.
Yeah.
In fact, I did him 2 years in a row. Did it 2 years, but he told these stories, and one of them I'll never forget is about how he and his wife, with the old first car dealership they had run out of money, and they had $2,500 in their account, and this lady that worked for him was hurting, needed money, so he writes a $2,500 check to this lady. And and he didn't. That was all the money he had. And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah. What was I gonna do with it?" I was like, I was $50,000, $100,000 in debt. He needed. I think it was $250,000. I needed $250,000. Yeah. This $2,500 wasn't going to do any good. So let me at least give it to somebody who does good. But the amazing thing is that next week he got the money he needed to pay off the debt he needed, and that was out of the blue. It's one of the most. It still gives me goosebumps to talk about it, but it truly is truth about that giving and receiving. Yeah. If you don't believe it, try it. God says, "Prove me, test me." Yeah. It actually works. That when you give, God will give back to you. It's the weirdest. It's a universal law, I believe. It's like gravity and, you know, and other.
So you see, Henry and Oral Roberts agree on that issue.
Yeah, they do on that issue. Yeah, I don't know about how many others, but anyway, I will never forget that story. Him telling me, and there were many more. And then the last time I talked to him, he had just come back from a tour of, I think, Italy and Greece, and he'd done all this. But it really it bothers me that we can't have him in here. Well, at least not now. I'm believing for a recovery. Honestly, I believe in as soon as he's able, I do want to get him in here, or we'll go to his house and interview him and just tell some more of those stories.
But I know his kids. I've met his grandkids. He's got a wonderful family, and he'll say those are probably his greatest treasures on this earth.
Oh, I'm sure.
Wonderful family. In fact, we were talking about, why are car dealers not allowed to be open on Sunday? And he said, you know what? I like it that way. Sunday is family day and always has been with the Primos. Very good family. He's a family man.
Like Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, he's a family man.
Yeah.
He really is. A wonderful family. Yeah. And they're all successful in business.
It's funny because you got a guy, he can come off if you meet him or see him in a just laid back situation. He's kind of a gruff, can be a raw, gruff guy.
Yeah.
But he's all heart. I mean, it's strange, which it kind of, I know somebody's going to say, how can you say that? He almost reminds me of what the apostles must have been like.
Yeah.
That's how I picture Peter.
Yeah.
You be around Peter and he's just this rough, crazy kind of, what would you say? Just not carnal, but just a raw man.
Yeah.
But at the same time, has the heart of Jesus in him. So that's anyway. Henry, get well here, brother,
right.
and
bless you.
We'll definitely look forward to having
my wife and I are praying for you guys.
Yeah. So all right, everybody, that's it for this episode of Fresh Black Coffee. We hope to see you guys again next week.
Yeah.
And as always, we're happy to be with you. Let's hope this works out. It does. Bye.